I have his fiance here, and she's going to share her story. Fred, he was just recently murdered in the streets of Detroit, and they want justice. His family wants justice. We want you to call 1-800-SPEAK-UP as we share this story, and if you hear any information and know of any information, there is a $2,500 reward. Tell me your name today.
Shayna Ray.
Shayna, I gotta be honest with you. I'm covering too many of these stories. When I started off on radio, I never thought that it would take me to the point where I'm being an advocate for families, trying to seek justice, putting it over the airwaves, that people that I know of are getting murdered. Come to find out, it's a small world. My cousin is a friend of yours.
Yeah.
And when I heard of the visual, my heart went out, because my cousin's heart cried out. And I wanted to be there for her, and I wanted to be there for your family. I couldn't be at the actual visual, but more and more as time went on, we finally ended up meeting. And so here we are today. And I want you to share your story. Listeners, we're going to take our time, and if you want to call in, feel free to call in. If you want to say some words of encouragement, feel free to do so. If you want to share your story, this is the time to do it. But right now I want you to tell us your history with Fred, and how many kids you got together, because I understand he's a family man as well.
Yes. Me and Fred were actually high school sweethearts, and we have 12 years history together. We have 3 beautiful kids whom he was very, very close to. He played a huge part in their life. So now that he's gone, it's like it's hard to move on, because everything we did in our lives was surrounded by all 5 of us being together, and now it's only me and them.
Tell us what happened the night that the coroners, that the police officers, the homicide showed up at your door.
Well, I was scheduled to work that Sunday morning, so I woke up about 3:45, 3:40, and he wasn't there. He wasn't in the bed. So I got up, walked through the house looking for him, and he was nowhere to be found. About a little after 4, somebody came banging at the front door, and then I heard footsteps running up my basement stairs. The person that was running up the basement stairs was his father. He went to the door, opened up the door, and they asked for me. When he asked them who were they said they were from the Detroit Police Department. And he was asking them, like, why were they there? So when I heard that it was the police at my door, I went to the door and asked them what was going on. And they asked me, like, are you China Ray? I said, yeah. They said, I said, well, how may we help you? And they was like, well, ma'am, that's why we need to come in, so we can talk to you. But, you know, nowadays with so much going on, you're not so quick to just let anybody that says they're the police into your home. But I looked at the shirt, and it said homicide detective, and that's when I just knew something more was going on. So I let them into my home, and, you know, they asked me questions, and they just told me that he had been shot in his torso. I asked them, where was he? They told me that he was on Foyer. Foyer didn't ring a bell to me, because I knew that we didn't know anyone over there. So I said, Foyer and what? Foyer and Grand River. Do you know why he was over there? I said, no, I don't know. I have no idea why. I don't know who Foyer and Grand River. So his father asked them, how did they know to come to my home. And they said, because my car was registered to my name. So when they came originally to my house, they were just coming about the car being found over in the area originally. But by the time they got in front of the house, they were told his name, because they didn't know his name. He didn't have any identification on him at the time, so he was listed as the John Doe. I later went to Sinai Grace Hospital, and when I asked for John Doe, they gave me a lot of, problems about who sent you, and I had to explain to them that the homicide detective sent me there and told me to ask for John Doe. So later, they sent out a social worker. I had to give a description of him, which was one of the hardest things I had to do. But I was able to tell her his description, and just from her facial expression, when I said that my name was on his neck, I knew that he was the John Doe that was brought in. But at that time, I still didn't know that it was him. That he was dead. They just told me that a John Doe came in 11:45, and just to give a description. But we waited. By this time, the waiting area was filled up with family and friends. Me and his grandmother went to the back and waited for the doctor. The doctor eventually came out and told us that he didn't make it, that it was too many gun wounds, and he tried to save him. He fought for his life, but he was DOA. He didn't make it because it was too many gunshot wounds. I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. You're fine. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.